Hello everyone, welcome to Coding with Ivan, and in today's video we're going to make a notepad application like this. I have already made that app, and if I show you, if I open that app, as you can see we got all the notes that we created inside our application. It's showing in a Recyclerview, and if we want to add a new note we can simply click on this floating action button right here. That will take us to a new activity where we have to input the title and some notes. So let me quickly add them. I'll add the title as test title, and for the notes I'll write this is a test note. Okay, and we can save that note by clicking on this save icon up here. As you can see, our note has been saved. And then if we want to edit any note, like I want to add some items inside our grocery list, so for this we have to just click on this item right here. That will take us to the item that we created. So now let's edit this. Let's remove eggs from here and add let's say beans, and we can save that by clicking on here. And as you can see, our grocery list has been updated. Alright, and also we can delete any item if we want. So for this we just have to press and hold that particular item. So let me delete this one. So I'll just long press or press and hold this item, and a menu will pop up. From there we can click on this delete. That will delete this item. So let me click on that. So our item has been deleted. Okay, and also as you can see, there is another option for pin or unpin. If we click on this, a pin will be added to this item. That means the item is now pinned. And if we want to unpin that, we can long press and click on pin unpin again. That will remove the pin from here. And as you can see, our background color of each item is changing every time we are refreshing the layout. So I'll also show you that. And also we can search through these items. Like if I type in the search box about Java, that will show us the item that contains the word Java. Let me test this again, and this time we'll search for bread. As you can see, it's showing the particular item that contains the item bread. Alright, so let's make this application. As you can see here, I have already opened a new project in my Android Studio. I have named that as Note app, and I just created this with a simple empty activity. Alright, and for the database we are going to use room database to store the data, and to integrate room database we just have to add the dependencies for room database to our Gradle. So to get the dependencies we have to go to this website. This is the official website of developers.android.com. So I'll give the link of this website in the description. From there you have to visit this, and you have to just go down here and copy this dependency for the room database. I'll just copy these two, and I'll go back to my Android Studio, and from here we have to go to inside our Gradle scripts, and we have to open the module level Gradle file, and inside here under these dependencies we have to paste those dependencies that we copied. Okay, so I'll just paste it right here, as you can see. Alright, and here for the room version we have to add the current or updated version. So we'll also get that from the website. Here as you can see, the room version is 2.4.0. so I'll just copy this 2.4.0 and add that here like this. Alright, and once we have added that, we have to click on the sync now. That will add the dependencies. Alright, once it's done we can close this Gradle and we can start working. So at first I'll make the model class for our note. So for this I'll right click here and create a new package. I'll name this as models, and inside the models package we will create our model class. So I'll right click here, create a new Java class. I'll call this as notes. Alright, and here after this class notes I'll make these implements serializable, because we have to add the serializable, because whenever we'll try to move or send the nodes data from one activity to another, we have to use serializable. So here I'll write implements serializable. Okay, and then as we are going to use these nodes as a table in our database, for this we just have to add an annotation here. So here I'll write @entity, and here I'll pass the table name as, let's say, nodes. Okay, remember what you are adding here as the table name, because we will need that later in our data access object or our main database. All right, and now we can start working inside our nodes class. So inside here we have to create some objects. So at first we need a primary key for our database, and our primary key will be the ID of this node. So I'll take a integer value, I'll call this, let's say, ID, and I'll initialize it with 0. Okay, and this integer ID will be our primary key. So for this we have to add a new annotation called primary key, and we'll set this primary key to be generated automatically. For this I'll add a bracket here, and inside I'll write auto generate to true. Okay, so that will automatically generate the ID every time we add a new item. Okay, and our second object for the node will be the title. So I'll add a string called title. Okay, I'll initialize it with an empty string. All right, and the column name for this title, we have to set that. So for this I'll write column info, and here in the brackets we have to pass the name of that column that we want to set. So I'll set the name as let's say title here. All right, and similarly we need another object or another item for the nodes. So here again I'll add a string called nodes. I'll initialize it with an empty string, and here I'll give the annotation column info, and I'll set the name of this column to, let's say, nodes. Okay, and after that we need another item to store the date of adding the node. So here I'll take another string that will store the time and date of creating the node. So here I'll write this as let's say date, empty string, oops, and I'll give this a column info annotation, and here for the name of this column I'll set this as date. Okay, and lastly we'll need another value for the pin or unpinned state. So we'll just take a boolean value here. I'll call this as boolean pinned, and here I'll set this to false, or I'll initialize this with false, and I'll add the column name as let's say pinned. Okay, and now we have added all our items for our node model, and now we just need to generate the getter and setter method for all of this. So I'll just simply right click here and click on generate, and I'll click on getter and setter, and I'll select all of this from here, and I'll click on OK. So here we got all the getter and setter objects for each of the items that we added here. Alright, so our model class is now ready. Now we can create our data access object or the DAO class. So for creating this class, let's actually do this inside a separate package. So I'll right click here and create a new package. I'll call this as database. Okay, and inside this database we'll create our data access object. So I'll create a new Java class here. I'll call this as let's say main data access object. Okay, and that will be an interface. Okay, so click on this interface. So here we got the main data access object class. All right, So here at first, as this is our data access object, we have to add a annotation here for the DAO. So here I'll write the annotation @DAO. All right, and then we can start working inside our data access object interface. So here at first we'll create a method to insert the data inside our database. For this I'll create a method. The return type will be void, and I'll call the method insert, and here for the parameter of this method we'll pass a note that we want to add. So that will be an object of the nodes model that we created right here. Okay, so I'll write nodes, the object name is nodes. Okay, semicolon, and as we want to add this item to our database, we have to add an annotation, as this is an insert operation. So here I'll write @insert. Okay, and while inserting we'll check for the conflict. So I'll write on conflict, we'll just replace the value, replace. Okay, and if we get any error like this, we can simply hit Alt Enter. That will import the class for replace, and we'll solve that error. Alright, so that is for our insert method. And now we have to create another method to get all the data. So for this we'll create another method, and here the return type will be a list of the nodes. So I'll write a list of, let's say, nodes, and I'll call this method name as get all. I'll add the parameter as empty, and here the annotation for this get all nodes or get all method will be a query, and here I'll write @query, and here inside the parameter of this query annotation we have to pass the query. So here I'll add a quotation, and inside here I'll write the query as select star from the table name, and the table name we'll see inside our nodes class. As you can see, inside this nodes class we have defined our table name as nodes. So we have to write this table name nodes inside here after the from. So I'll write nodes, and we can order those values. So what is happening here is it's selecting all the items. This star means all items, so we are selecting all items from this nodes table, and we can perform another query to order those values. And in this app I am going to order all this value with the ID in a descending order, because we want to show our latest added items on the top of the recycler view. So that's why I am doing this query. If you don't want to do that, you can leave this. I'll write order by ID, and the order would be in a descending order. Okay, so this query will return us all the items from this nodes table ordered by the ID with a descending order. All right, so we got the method for getting all the data, and then we need another method to update the items inside our database. For this I'll create a method void update, and here inside the parameter of the update method we have to pass the items that we need to update. So here, as you can see, inside this nodes class we have all of these items: the ID, title, notes, date, pinned, etc. So in this example I am going to pass only the ID, title, and the notes. So here I'll pass integer ID, and then a string value for the title, and again a string value for the let's say notes. Okay, and also that will be a query. So here I'll write annotation query. So here inside the parameter of this query we have to write the query. So I'll quickly do that. Here I'll add a quotation, and inside here I'll write the query as update, and after that we have to pass the table name. So the table name was notes, so I'll write notes, and inside the table we'll set some values. Like at first we'll set the title. So I'll write set title equals, and then before passing this title that we are getting from the parameter, we have to add a colon. So I'll write colon title, and then we have to also pass the notes here. So the notes inside our class name was notes. So here I'll write notes equals a colon, and then we'll pass this notes value that we are getting from this parameter, which is also notes. Okay, and where we'll set these items, where we'll match the id with this id value we are getting with the parameter. So I'll write where id, because the id is spelled like this inside our nodes class. So here I'll write id equals colon id that we're getting from this parameter. Alright, so that's the query for updating the values inside our database. So here we got the method for creating, reading and updating. Now we need another method to delete a value from the database. So to do that, we have to create a new method. I'll call this as delete. Okay, and inside the parameter of this delete, we have to pass a object of this notes. Okay, and then also we need to add a annotation here, and for deleting an item from the database, the annotation is just simply delete. Okay, that will take care about the delete operation from our database. Alright, so here we got all the methods that we need inside our main data access object. So now we can create another abstract class for our room database. So for this, I'll just go here inside this database package, and I'll right click here, create a new Java class. I'll call this as let's say room db, and I'll hit enter. So here we got our room db class. So here at first we'll make this class as abstract, and then above this class we have to initialize it with the database. So we have to add a new annotation here as database. So here at first we have to pass the entities. So the entity of our database is only this nodes class. So here I'll pass the entities as nodes dot class. All right, so we have defined our entities, and then we have to add the version name of our database. So I'll write version equals, let's say 1 initially, and then let's add the export schema to false. All right, and then we can work inside our abstract class body. So inside the class body we have to create an instance of our room database. So I'll just write private static room db. I'll call this as database. All right, and then we have to create another string variable for our database name. We can also do that here. So I'll write private static string, and I'll call this as database underscore name, and I'll set the database name as, let's say, note app. Okay, we'll use this database name later inside our while creating our database instance. So after that we have to create a method to get the instance of the database. So I'll just write a new method, public synchronized static room db. I'll call this method as get instance, and here we'll pass the context. Okay, and we can create this method's body, and inside this method's body at first we'll check if our database instance is null or not. So if it is null, then we'll create the instance, otherwise we'll just simply return the database instance. So here I'll check if database equal null. So if it is null, then we have to create the instance. So let's create that. So I'll write database equals room dot database builder, this one, room dot database builder, and here inside the parameter, at first we have to pass the context. So I'll write context dot get application context. Okay, I'll add a comma here and I'll go to the new line, and here we'll pass the class for our room database. So I'll write room db dot class, and then we have to pass the name of the database. As you can see, our name we have defined in a string right here, the database name. So I'll just write the database name string here. Okay, and then we'll go after this bracket here, and I'll go to a new line and I'll write dot allow main thread queries. Okay, and then we'll add another method that we'll say the fallback to destructive migration, and then we'll build that. So I'll write dot build. Okay, we can add a semicolon right here, and the room db dot class is throwing an error. What's the issue here? Require type class t class room db. Okay, so here we have to make this class extends the room database. So let's quickly do that. So here, after defining the public abstract class room db, we have to make this class extends room database, this one. All right, so our error is now gone, as you can see. So here, after building this, we can go outside of this if condition, and here we'll just simply return our database. So let's return database. Okay, so that's it for this method. All right, and let's also create an instance of our data access object, or the main DAO that we created right here. So here I'll write this as public abstract main DAO. I'll call this as main DAO. Okay, so that's it for our roomdb.java. Our database is now ready. Now we can start working in our main activity. So before going to our main activity, we'll update the UI elements. So for this, I'll go inside the res folder, inside the layout, and here I'll go inside the activity main.xml, and here I'll go into split view, and inside here I'll just remove this constraint layout to a new let's say linear layout, and I'll set its orientation here to vertical. And inside here we have this text view. I'll just simply remove this, and here I'll add a new Recyclerview. So I'll let Recyclerview, I'll set its width to match parent and height to match parent. Okay, I'll give this Recyclerview an ID. I'll call this, let's say, recycler_home. Okay, and I'll give this Recyclerview a margin of 8 dp overall. Okay, and okay, let's not use the linear layout here. We're going to use a relative layout. Okay, and here I'll change the background of this layout to be color black here. Okay, and here we got the Recyclerview, and now we have to add a new floating action button by clicking on which we'll add our nodes. So here under this Recyclerview, I'll create a new floating action button. I'll set its width to wrap content and height to wrap content here. Let's close this tag, and here I'll give this floating action button an ID. I'll call this as fab add, and here I'll set the floating action button to this corner of the screen. So for this, I have to write here align parent bottom to true. That will take the floating action button to the bottom, and then we need to align this to the right corner. So for this, I'll write align parent end to true. So it got here, and then we can give this a margin. So I'll write let's say margin to, let's pass 24 dp. Okay, so it's now here, and then we can add a new icon or an source image for this floating action button. So for this we have to create one inside the drawable. So I'll just right click on this drawable folder, create a new vector asset, and here I'll click on this clip art and select a icon. So let's search for plus, no, add, okay, this one. I'll click on this one and click on OK, and I'll change the color of this clipper to, let's say, color black. Okay, and I'll change its name to IC underscore add. I'll keep the size as 24 dp. I'll click on next and finish. So here we got our IC underscore add. We'll just add this to our floating action button. For this, here I'll write src equals @drawable slash IC underscore add, and as you can see, the plus icon has been added here. Okay, so that's it for the floating action button. Now we have to work on this recycler view, but before that we have to create another layout for our recycler view items, or the each individual items of the recycler view. So for this, I'll right click on this layout, create a new layout resource file. I'll call this as nodes underscore list and hit enter. So here we'll go to the split view again, and here I'll change the parent layout to a, let's say, card view, and inside the card view I'll change the layout height to wrap content here, and here I'll add some more attributes, like I'll set the card background color to color white at first. Okay, and then I'll set a ID for this card view. So I'll write ID. I'll call this as nodes underscore container. Okay, and then I'll give this card view a corner radius. So I'll write card corner radius to 8 dp, and then I'll add a simple elevation. So I'll write card elevation to 8 dp, and also I'll give this card view a simple margin. So I'll write layout margin as 8 dp. Alright, now we can start working inside our card view. So inside the card view, we'll create a simple linear layout here. I'll set its width to match parent and the height to wrap content here, and I'll set its orientation to be vertical. So I'll write orientation to vertical. Okay, now inside this linear layout, we have to add a text view to show the title, a text view to show the data, and also an image view to show the pin icon. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So to make the UI, at first I'll add a new relative layout here. I'll set its width to match parent and height to wrap content, and inside this relative layout we'll add a text view to show the title, and next to that text view we'll show the pin icon. So here I'll create a new text view. I'll set its width as match parent and the height as wrap content here. Let's close this tag, and then I'll give this text view an ID here. I'll call this as text view underscore title. Let's set a dummy text here. So I'll set the text as let's say title. Okay, and then let's align this text view to the start of this relative layout. So I'll write align parent start to true. Now it's attached to the start of the screen, and let's set the text size here because it's very tiny. So I'll write text size to let's say 18 sp for the title. Okay, and then I'll set the text color. So let text color to be color black. Then I'll change the text style to be bold for the title. I'll give this text view a padding also of, let's say, 8 dp, and will make this text view single line. So I'll write single line to true. Okay, and as we were initializing this text view title to be single line, so if the text is larger here, we want to show a horizontally scrolling animation. For this we have to add some more attributes, like here I'll set the ellipse size to marquee, and here I'll write the marquee repeat limit to marquee forever, and then we'll write scroll horizontally to true. Okay, so that's it for our title text view. Now after this title text, let me align this. Okay, so here is the title text view, and after adding the title, on this corner of the screen we want to show the pin or unpinned icon. So for this I'll go below this text view here, and here I'll create a new image view. Okay, this one, the image view, and here for the width of this image view I'll pass, let's say, 20 dp, and for the height I'll also pass 20 dp. All right, let's close this tag, and here I'll give this image view an id of image view underscore pin, and I'll align this image view to the end of the screen right here. So I'll write align parent end to true. Okay, and here for the pin icon we're going to use a new asset. So here, as you can see, I have made that asset. You can download these type of assets from the internet, or I'll also give the download link of this one in the description. From there you can download that. So I'll just copy this asset here, and I'll go to my drawable folder of the Android Studio, and I'll paste it right here inside the drawable, and click on OK. Okay, so here its name is IC underscore pin. So if I add this here, for example, if I write src at the rate drawable slash IC pin, you can see the pin icon right here. Okay, so we won't add that here from the UI. We'll add this dynamically on our adapter, so I'll just leave it as it is. And then under this title we need to add the notes that we want to show. So here I'll go after this relative layout. Let me just minimize this relative layout, and below this relative layout we'll add a new text view to show the notes. So I'll write text view, and I'll set the width to match parent and the height to wrap content here. Close this tag, and I'll give this text view an id. I'll call this as text view underscore notes here. Let's add a dummy text. I'll call this as notes. Okay, let's set the text color for this. I'll let text color to be color black, and then the text size will be for the notes we'll give it a smaller text size. I'll pass 14 sp here, and let's change the text style to be normal here, not bold. And then I'll set a maximum lines for the notes to be shown. So here on the main screen we won't show all the items inside the notes. We'll show a maximum number of 10 lines here. So I'll write max lines to 10, so that will show only the first 10 lines of the notes. And then we'll give a padding to this. So I'll give the padding as 8 dp. Alright, so that's it for our text view notes. Now under this we'll also try to show the date of creating that note. So we'll show that also inside a text view. So for this we can simply just copy this text view once again. I'll copy this and I'll paste it under here, and here we have to change some items, like the id will be text view underscore date, and let's change the text to date. And here the text color will be, let's pass this as color gray. Okay, we have to add the color gray. So to add the color, I'll simply go to a website called UI color picker, and from here I'll select a color. Let's select this one. I'll just click on this to copy, go back to Android Studio, and I'll go inside my values folder, inside the colors. From here I'll create a new color. I'll change the color code to the color code that I copied right now, and I'll change its color title to gray. Okay, so that's it. Now we can go to our notes list item again, and here I'll pass the text color as color slash gray. Alright, and then as our date time could be a large text, we can show also a horizontal scrolling animation here. So for this I'll do the same like we did for the title text view. I'll write at first single line true, then ellipse size will be marquee, then the marquee repeat limit will be marquee forever, and then we'll set the scroll horizontally to true. Alright, so that's it. So that's it for the custom Recyclerview items. So now we can close this and we can start working in our main activity. Okay, but before working in our main activity, I think we should create the adapter class for our Recyclerview. So to create the adapter, we can simply do that here, or also let's create a new package for this also, that will look more cleaner. So I'll write the package name as adapters, hit enter, and here inside this adapters I'll create a new Java class. I'll call this as notes list adapter, and hit enter. So this is the class for the notes list adapter, and outside of this class we have to create another class for the view holder of this notes adapter. So here I'll create a new class. I'll call this as notes view holder. Okay, and I'll make this class extends the default view holder class of Recyclerview. So I'll write extends Recyclerview dot view holder. It's showing an error. If we click on this red bulb, it will ask to create constructor matching super. If we click on that, our error will be gone, and here we got a constructor for the notes view holder. So before or above this constructor, we have to create some objects, some objects of the view items that we added in our custom list, this notes list.xml. So from here, as you can see, our first item was the card view that contains all the items, and its ID is notes underscore container. Okay, so I'll just copy this ID from here and go into notes list adapter, and here the class name is card view for the card view, and I'll pass or paste the name of the card view or ID of the card view. So similarly I'll add all the other objects, like here we got the text view for the title, so I'll just copy the ID, and here I'll create a text view object, and I'll set the object name to text view title. So similarly we have another text view for the text view notes. I'll copy the ID and paste it here. We have another text view for the date, so I'll copy this and paste it right here and add semicolon. And lastly we had an image view here to show the pin icon. So for this I'll just copy this ID of this image view, and I'll go into our notes list adapter here, and here I'll create an object for the image view, and I'll paste the image view pin here. All right, so that's it. Now we have to initialize all these items inside our constructor. So for this, let's start with this notes container. I'll copy this, paste it here again, equals item view dot find view by id r dot id dot notes container. And if you get an error like this, just click on this R and hit alt enter. So our error is now gone. and at the end we have to add a semicolon. And now let's copy this 1 2 3 4 more times, 1 2 3 4, and we'll just replace these titles that we copied. So I'll copy this, paste it here, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and paste. Okay, so our all the view items are now initialized. Now we can start working inside our nodes list adapter class here. So at first we have to make this nodes list adapter class extends the default adapter class of Recyclerview. So we have to write extends Recyclerview dot adapter, and here on the angle brackets we have to pass the view holder name for this Recyclerview. So we have created this nodes view holder class, so I'll just copy the name here and paste it here. Okay, and that's showing an error because we have to implement the methods. So we'll just right click on this red bulb here and click on implement methods, and we have to select all these three and click on OK. So here we got these methods, the onCreate view holder, onBind view holder, and the get item count. So let's start working. So at first we have to create an object for the context. So I'll write context, I'll call this context, and then we have to pass a list item that we want to show. So the list will be a list of nodes, I'll call this as list, and after that we have to create another object for a listener. This is mainly for the on-click listener of the Recyclerview items. So let me quickly create a separate listener for this. So I'll just right click on this package, create a new Java class. I'll call this as, let's say, nodes click listener, and that will be an interface. Okay, so here we got this interface nodes click listener, and inside this nodes click listener we have to create two methods. So at first the method will be on click, where we'll just simply pass the node item. So nodes, okay, and another one will be for the on long click. Okay, so let void on long click. So when the user will long click on the item, we have to pass the nodes object. Also we have to pass the main view object. So as you can see inside this nodes item nodes list.xml file, the container of this node items is the card view, as we have defined the ID for this also, the nodes container. So we have to pass a object of a card view here. So here I'll write a card view, I'll call this as card view. All right, so our nodes click listener class is now done. We can close that, and we have to define a new object of this nodes click listener in our nodes list adapter here. So I'll write nodes click listener, I'll call this as listener. Okay, and then we have to create a constructor for this nodes click listener. So I'll just right click here, click on generate, click on constructor, and I'll select all of these three. Okay, and I'll click on OK. So here we got the constructor, this nodes list adapter constructor here. All right, so that's now done. Now we can start working inside our onCreate view holder. So we'll just simply cut this null, and we'll create a new nodes view holder. I'll call the layout inflator dot from the context dot inflate r dot layout dot the nodes list dot xml that we created. So nodes list, and the second parameter is the parent that we got from here, and the third one is the false. Okay, so we have done with our onCreate view holder. Now inside the onBind view holder, we have to bind all the data with these views, but before that we have to work on this get item count. So here, instead of returning 0, we will return list dot size. Okay, this is the list that we got from here. Alright, and now inside this onBind view holder, we'll bind all the data with the view. So let's quickly do that. At first, we'll set the title to the title text view. So for this, I'll write holder dot text view title dot set text, and here we'll call the list dot get from position. This position is we are getting from the parameter here. So get position dot get title. All right, and as we want to give this title text view a horizontal scrolling effect, for this we have to write holder dot text view title dot set selected to true. Okay, so that's it for the title text view. Now for the text view notes, we'll write holder dot text view notes dot set text, and here I'll call list dot get from position dot get notes. All right, and thirdly, we have to set the date to the text view date. So for this, I'll write holder dot text view date dot set text, and here I'll write list dot get from position dot get date. Okay, and also we have to add the horizontal scrolling effect for the text view date. So I'll do the same, holder dot text view date dot set selected to true. And then we have another work to do for the pin items. So as you can see, if I show you inside these models, inside the nodes, we have another object for the pin status, which is a boolean object. And so let me go into the adapter. So here at first we'll check if the boolean value pinned is true or false. So if it is true, then we have to show the pin icon to our item, and if it is false, then we won't show that pin icon. So let's quickly do that. For this, I'll write a simple if condition. So I'll write if list dot get from position dot is pinned. That means if the item is pinned, in that case we have to attach the image IC underscore pin to our image view. So for this, I'll write holder dot image view pin dot set image resource, and here I'll write r dot drawable dot IC underscore pin. All right, so that will add the pin icon if the pinned value is true, and if it is false, in that case we'll just simply copy this into here, and instead of adding this IC underscore pin, we will pass 0. Okay, so that will do the job. And now, as you can see inside our application, inside the list items, every item got a different color, and it changes every time we reload or refresh the layout. Okay, so let's quickly do some coding for this option also. So for this, we have to create a separate method to get random colors. So here I'll go outside of this onBind view holder, and here I'll create a new method. I'll call this as private integer get random color. Okay, and here inside the method body, we have to create a list of integer items for the color codes. So I'll create a new list of integer. I'll call this as color code, and I'll initialize it with a new array list. Okay, so now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a list of integer color codes, and from there we'll pick a random color code every time and we'll attach this to our list item container. Okay, so let's add some colors. So for the colors we have to create some color inside the colors.xml. so let me quickly do that. Control D to copy this. Let's copy 5 of them. Okay, and let's change its color to color, change its title to color 1, and this one for color 2, this one for color 3, this one for color 4, and this one for color 5. And you can use any color that you want here. You can change the colors from clicking on this icon here. You can pick any color you want. Okay, so let me pick this one from here at first. For the second one I'll pick, let's say, this one. For the third one I'll pick this one. For the fourth one I'm gonna pick okay, this one, and for the fifth I'll pick let's pick a light purple one. Okay, so these are the colors that I want to use. So now I'll just go back to the adapter, and here I'll add some colors. So I'll just call this color code here, color code dot add, and here I'll pass the color code from the resource r dot color dot color 1. Okay, and similarly I'll add the rest for color code dot add color 2, then color 3, color 4, and color 5. Okay, so these are the colors that we got, and now we have to pick a random color every time. So for this I'll call a object of the random class. So I will write random equals new random here, and here we have to create a random number between the size of this color code list. So here I'll write a integer value. I'll call this as random underscore color equals random. This is the object that we created here, random dot next int, and here inside the parameter I'll pass the color code list dot size. So let color code dot size. Alright, so that will return us a random number between these 5, and then we just have to return this color code. So I'll write return random color. Okay, so that will return us the random color with this method. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the color to the nodes container. Okay, so here at first we'll get the random color from this get random color method. So here I'll take a integer value. I'll call this as color underscore code equals get random color. So that will return us a random color code from this to here inside the color code. And now we have to set the color code to our node container. So for this I'll write holder dot nodes container dot set card background color, and as this nodes container is a card view, as you can see here, we have to use this set card background color. If it's in your case, if it is any other layout, you can simply use set background color. Okay, so here I'm adding set card background color, and inside the parameter I'll pass holder dot item view dot get resources dot get color, and here at first we have to pass the color code that we got from here inside this integer value. So I'll pass here the color code, and then for the theme value I'll pass null. Okay, so that will do the job. And after that we can manage our on click listener and on long click listener of our Recyclerview items. So for this, here I'll write holder dot nodes container dot set on click listener. I'll create a new view dot on click listener here. Okay, so here inside this on click method we'll simply call our listener that we created up here, this one, which is the object of the nodes click listener. So I'll call the listener dot on click, and here I'll pass the node item from the list position. So I'll write list dot get, and inside the get parameter we won't pass directly the position, we'll write holder dot get adapter position. All right, so that's it for the on click listener. And now for the on long click listener, we'll write holder dot nodes container dot set on long click listener, new view dot on long click listener. And here inside this on long click method, at first we'll return the listener dot on long click. Previously we used the on click, and here we're using the on long click. And here we'll pass at first we have to pass the node item. So here I'll get the node item from the list. So list dot get from holder dot get adapter position, and the second parameter is the, oh no, not here. Okay, so the second parameter here is the view or the card view. So for the card view we'll simply pass the holder dot nodes container. All right, and here after this, instead of returning false, here we'll return true. Okay, so that's it for our node list adapter. Now we can close this and we can start working in our main activity. So here at first inside our main activity class, I'll create some objects for our Recyclerview and our adapter also. So here I'll create a new object for the Recyclerview. I'll call this as Recyclerview, and then I'll create another object for the nodes list adapter that we created. So I'll write nodes list adapter. This is the nodes list adapter we created here. So nodes list adapter, I'll call this as nodes list adapter. And then let's create a dummy list for storing the nodes. So here I'll make a list of nodes. I'll call this as, let's say, nodes. I'll initialize this with a new array list here. Okay, and we'll also create an object of the roomdb. So I'll write roomdb. So roomdb is the database that we created here, the class that we created here, roomdb. I'll call this as database. All right, and also inside our activity main with the Recyclerview we had another view which is a floating action button. So we'll just add this here. I'll write floating action button. I'll call this as, let's say, fab underscore add. Okay, all right, so here now we'll go inside the onCreate method and we'll initialize the views, which is the Recyclerview and the floating action button. So at first I'll call the Recyclerview equals find view by id r dot id dot the ID of the Recyclerview was recycler underscore home. I'll copy this and paste it here. Okay, and similarly for the floating action button, the fab add equals find view by id r dot id dot its ID was fab underscore add. Okay, I'll paste it here. All right, and then we'll initialize our database object that we created here. So to initialize that, we'll write database equals roomdb dot get instance, and here we have to pass the context. So for the context, I'll pass this. Okay, and now we can access all the nodes from this database object. So now what I'm going to do is I'll get all the nodes from the database, and I'll store that inside this nodes list that we created up here. So I'll write nodes equals database dot main DAO. We have to call the main DAO, and from this main DAO we can call the method get all. As you can see here, we got all the methods, the get all, delete, insert, update. Okay, so I'll just call get all here. All right, and now we can update these nodes to our Recyclerview. So let's do that, but for this we'll create a method here. So I'll write update recycler, and here we'll pass the nodes. All right, and as you can see, it's showing an error because this method is not created yet. So for this, I'll just click on this red bulb here and click on create method. So we have got our method here, and our method should be outside of the on create method. Okay, so here inside this method, I'm going to populate our Recyclerview. So at first I'll write Recyclerview dot set has fixed size to true, and then I'll initialize our node list adapter. So I'll call our node list adapter that we created up here, this node list adapter. We'll initialize this with a new node list adapter, and here for the node list adapters constructor, we have to pass a context, a list of nodes, and a nodes click listener. Okay, so let's do that. At first we'll pass the context. So for the context, I'm going to pass main activity dot this, as our activity name is main activity. So main activity dot this, and the second parameter is the list. So the list we're getting from this parameter, which is called nodes. So here I'll pass nodes here, and the third parameter is the nodes click listeners object. So let us quickly create one. So here I'll write private final nodes click listener. I'll call this as nodes click listener equals new nodes click listener. Okay, and here we got the on click and on long click method, and here it's showing an error because we have to add a semicolon here. Okay, so now we can pass this nodes click listener to the parameter of this nodes list adapter. So I'll write nodes click listener, this one. Okay, all right, so that's it. Now we can attach this adapter, this nodes list adapter, to our Recyclerview. So I'll write Recyclerview dot set adapter, and here I'll pass this nodes list adapter. Okay, but here we have to do one more thing. So here, before initializing our adapter, let's do one thing. We have to set a layout manager for our Recyclerview. So here I'll write Recyclerview dot set layout manager, and here, as you can see inside our app, if I show you, our layout is something like this. It is somewhere like a grid layout, but the items, each of the items have their different sizes. Okay, so for this we have to use the staggered layout. So let's quickly do that. So here inside the set layout manager, I'll create a new staggered grid layout. Okay, so I'll call this staggered grid layout manager, and here in the parameter, at first we have to pass the span count. Like in my example, we have only two spans here. This is the first span, this is the second span. So I'll just pass here 2. If you want to use 3 span, you can pass 3, or if you want 1, you can pass 1 here. Okay, so I am passing the span count 2, and the second parameter is the orientation. So here I'll write linear layout manager dot vertical, because I want this to be vertical. Okay, so that's it. So that will show the items in our recycler view, but we don't have any item here to show, because we have to add the items by clicking on this floating action button. So let's quickly do this also. So here what I'll do is, after here update recycler, I'll call our fab underscore add. So fab underscore add dot set on click listener new view dot on click listener, and here on the floating action buttons on click, I'll start a new activity where I'll enter the title and the description, and I'll save it, and that will be added to our database and will show inside our recycler view. Okay, so let's try to do that. For this, at first we'll create a new activity. Let me minimize all this. So I'll just right click here on the package and create a new activity. I'll go for the empty activity, and here I'll name this as notes taker activity. Okay, and I'll click on finish here. So it's creating the activity. Let's wait some time. Okay, so now it's done. So now if we go back to our main activity, and here on the floating action buttons on click event, I'm going to call the new activity with intent. So I'll create a object of intent. I'll call this intent equals new intent, and here I'll start from main activity dot this from notes taker activity dot class. Okay, add a semicolon here, go to the new line, and here we will use start activity for result. So let start activity for result, and here for the first parameter I'll pass the intent that we created right here. So I'll pass the intent, and the second parameter is the result code. So for the result code, I'll here directly pass 101. Sorry, it's not the result code, it's the request code. Okay, I'm passing the request code as 101 because we are adding the data. That's why I'm passing this. You can pass any value that you want. I'm passing 101. What I'm planning is for adding a note, I'm going to pass 101, and for editing a note, I'll pass 102. So that's why I have added 101 here. Okay, so that's it. Now let's go to our notes taker activity here, and from here actually let's first design the UI. Okay, so I'll go to the split view of this activity notes taker.xml, and here I'll change the parent layout to a linear layout. All right, and I'll set its orientation to be vertical, and I'll change the background color of this to color black. Okay, and inside this linear layout we will add a custom toolbar, but before that we have to remove our default toolbar or the default action bar from this notes taker activity. So for this we have to go to our theme section here, inside the res folder, inside the values, inside the themes, we have to go to this themes.xml from here, and here what I'm going to do is I'll just copy this style once again, I'll paste it under this here. Okay, and I'll change its name to from note app to theme.note app to theme.note app no action bar. Okay, and I'll set the action bar here from dark action bar to no action bar. Okay, and similarly I'll do it for the themes.xml night also. I'll copy this, I'll paste it under here, and I'll call this as note app dot no action bar. Oops, no action bar. And I'll change the dark action bar to no action bar. All right, and then okay, I made a mistake here. That will be note app dot no action bar. Okay, so that's it. Now we can close all these themes.xml and we'll go to our manifest file, Android manifest.xml, and inside here, as you can see, for the activity notes taker activity, after this I'll write theme, and here I'll write @style / theme dot note app dot no action bar. Okay, that's it. Now we can go back to our activity notes taker dot xml, and here inside this linear layout I'll create a toolbar. Right, toolbar, and I'll set its width to match parent and height to $attr / action bar size. So that will take the default height of a action bar, and let me minimize this. Okay, now I'll give an ID for this toolbar. I'll write as toolbar underscore notes. Okay, and here let's do one thing. Let's give this a title of the app name, and the title text color will be color white. Okay, here we got the app name. All right, and then inside this notes, okay, we won't need that actually. Let's remove this. Okay, now inside this toolbar we have to add some attributes, but we shouldn't close like this. I'll close it in a regular way, and then inside this toolbar tag I'll create a new image view. Here I'll set its width to $attr / action bar size, and for the height I'll also pass the same. I'll copy this and paste it here. Okay, you can close the tag here, and for the image view I'll give this an ID. I'll call this as image view underscore save. Okay, and here for the background of this image view I'll pass transparent color, so I'll write Android color / transparent. Okay, and we have to align this to the end of the parent. So for this let's put this image view inside the relative layout. So inside the toolbar I'll create a new relative layout. I'll set its width to match parent and height to let's say wrap content. Okay, and okay, don't close like this, we'll close like this. Okay, so inside this relative layout I'll just copy this and paste it here. So here we got our image view. So we need to align this to the end of the toolbar. So for this here I'll write align parent end to true. Okay, and here we need to show a image or a save image. So let's quickly create that. So I'll right click on this drawable folder and create a new vector asset, and I'll search for, let's say, save. Yes, we can select this one. Okay, IC underscore save. I'll set its color to white this time, and I'll click on next and finish. So here we got our IC underscore save.xml file, and now here inside this image view I'll pass the source image from Android:src, and here I'll pass drawable /IC underscore save. Okay, so here we got this save icon here. Okay, we can give this a small padding of, let's say, 4dp, let's pass 8dp. Okay, looks better. So our image view is now complete for the save. So now we can work on the edit text to enter the title and the notes. So for this I'll just minimize this whole toolbar here, and we can work under this toolbar. So here I'll create a new edit text. I'll set its width to match parent and height to, let's say, wrap content here. Alright, I'll close this tag, and here for the edit text I'll pass its ID as edit text underscore title, and here I'll set a hint of, let's say, title. Okay, and I'll change the hint text color. So I'll write text color hint, and I'll pass the color, let's say, white. Okay, and then I'll give this a padding of 8dp. I'll set the text style for this edit text to be bold, as this is the title, and I'll also set the text size to be let's say 20 sp here. Okay, I'll also pass the text color for this to be color white, as our background is black, so we have to use the text color white. And also for the title I'll make this in a single line, so I'll write a single line to be true. Alright, so that's it for the title edit text. Now we'll do this for the notes edit text. So I'll write edit text. I'll set its width to match parent and height to, let's say, wrap content here. Okay, and I'll add a new ID for this edit text. So I'll call this as edit text underscore notes, and here I'll give this a hint of, let's write, add notes. Okay, and I'll also add a text color hint to color white here. I'll give this a padding of 8dp here, and I'll also change the text color to be color white also, and I'll set the text size here to be 18 sp, and let's set the text style to be normal here. Okay, so that's it for this edit text. So actually that's it for the whole layout file for the activity notes taker. Now we can go to our notes taker activity.java file, and here we'll start working. At first we'll initialize our views. So as you can see, at first we have here a new edit text. So I'll just copy the ID of this edit text. I'll go into our notes taker activity, and here I'll create a new edit text object. I'll call this edit text underscore title, and for the second one I'll copy this again, paste it here. Okay, and thirdly we have this image view inside the toolbar. Okay, so I'll just copy this image views ID, and I'll go to the notes taker activity, and here I'll create a new object for image view, and I'll set its name as image view underscore save. And here also we'll need an object for the notes, so I'll create a create a notes object. I'll call this as notes. Okay, so now here at first the user will input something in the edit texts right here, and whenever they will click on this save image, our note should be saved into our database. So for this, what I'm going to do is, inside our notes taker activity, here I'll check a on click listener for this image view save. So I'll write image view save equals find view by id, at first r.id dot image view save. Okay, and after initializing this with the find view id, we can add the on click listener. So let image view save dot set on click listener new view dot on click listener here. So now inside this on click method we will get the title and the description from the edit text, and we'll send it to the main activity to add to our database. So at first let's take a string. I'll call this as title equals, which is okay, but before that we have to initialize this edit texts also, otherwise we will get errors. So here as you can see we have the edit text title and the edit text notes. So I'll just copy this edit text title here, and I'll write edit text title equals find view by id r.id dot edit text title here. And similarly for these edit text notes, I'll write edit text notes equals find view by id r.id dot edit text notes. Okay, we have initialized all of this, and now here for the string title I'll write string title equals edit text title dot get text dot toString. Okay, and I'll take another string. I'll call this as description equals edit text notes dot get text dot toString. Okay, so we got the title and description from the edit text right here, and here at first we'll check if our title or actually title could be empty. Let's check for the description only. So I'll write if the description dot is empty. In that case we'll just show a toast message where for the context I'll pass the notes taker activity dot this, and for the message I'll pass please add some notes. Okay, and after this toast message I'll just simply return from this if the description is empty. And if it is not empty, in that case we'll add the data. So here for the notes object we got the title and the description. We need the date of creating this node also. So for this we can create the date. So to create the date I'll call the simple date format. I'll call this formatter equals new simple date format, and here inside a string quotation we have to pass the pattern by which we want to get the date. Okay, I'll give a link of an article where you can find various types of patterns for various type of date and time outputs. So in this example I'm going to use a simple pattern. So here at first we'll take the weekday, and then we'll get the date, and after the date we'll get the month name, just 3 letters, and then we'll get the year, the full 4-digit year, and after that we'll get the hour. So for getting the hour we'll just write 2h for the hours, and then a colon. For the minutes I'll write mm, and again another colon, and now we can okay, let's not take the seconds, we'll just get the am or pm state. Okay, I'll write a. Okay, so here the 3e stands for the weekday, the d is for the date, m is for the month, y is for the year, h is for the hour, m is for the minute, and this a is for the am or pm state. Okay, so I'll just close this with a semicolon here, and then we'll take a date object. So I'll write date equals new date. Okay, so now we got the title, the description, and the date also. Now we can populate our object that we created up here, this notes. But as you can see, we haven't initialized our notes object. So to initialize that, we can go under this, and here I'll write notes equals new notes. Okay, and then we can set the attributes. So at first I'll set the notes dot set title, and for the title I'll pass this title here. So I'll write title, and then notes dot set notes, and for the notes I'll pass the description here. So I'll write description, and then notes dot set date, and for the date I'll pass this on this date object. So I'll write date. Okay, we have to pass, actually we can't directly pass the date here. We have to call the formatter first here. So I'll write formatter dot format. So this formatter we called here dot format, and here we have to pass a date object, which is this one. So I'll write date. Okay, so now that we have created a object of the notes, we can now send this data back to our main activity. So for this we'll create a new intent. I'll write intent equals new intent, and here I'll make this intent dot put extra, and here with the extra I'll name this as note, and the value of this extra value will be this notes object. So I'll write notes. And remember one thing, whenever you are passing a Java class with this intent.put extra, you have to make this class serializable. Like inside this node class, as you can see, I have made this implement serializable. If you haven't added that, you will get an error inside here, inside this line. Okay, so make sure you do this. Make sure you implement the serializable inside the model class. So now after putting extra to our intent, we can set back the data. So for this I'll write set result, and here I'll pass the result. Okay, the result code, which is so activity dot result. Okay, this one. Okay, and then we'll pass the intent that we created. So I'll pass the intent here. Okay, and finally after passing the data, we can finish this notes taker activity. So for this I'll write just finish. Okay, so that will do this. So now what happening here is, whenever the user is clicking on this floating action button on the main activity, it's sending the user to the notes taker activity, and here the user is typing some data inside this edit texts, and when they click on this save button, it creates a notes object with the details that the user typed, and then it sends back to the main activity. So now what we need to do is we need to receive the data inside our main activity. So for this we'll just go here. Okay, let's go here, and here we'll create or override a new method, which is on activity result. Okay, so we have to override this method on activity result. All right, so here at first we'll go after this super call, and here we'll check for the request code. So I'll write if request code. So we're getting this request code from this parameter, and we'll match this with the request code that we sent with the floating action buttons on click, which is 101. So we'll search for if it matches with 101, then it's for the save notes. Okay, so if it is 101, then we'll again check for if the result code equals activity dot result. Okay, so if the result code is result okay, then we can store the data to our database. So for this we'll create another object, the notes object. I'll call this new underscore notes equals data dot get serializable extra, and here we'll pass the name that was sent from the notes taker activity. As you can see, the extra's name was note, NOTE, so we'll just make the same spelling here, NOTE, okay, and put a semicolon here. And it's showing an error because we need to cast the value to the model nodes. So click on that, and this line will be added and your error is now gone. So now we can add these new nodes to our database. So for this I'll write database dot main.dow dot insert, and here for the parameter of insert we have to pass a object of the nodes, which is this one, the new nodes. So I'll just pass here the new underscore nodes, okay, and after that we can clear the nodes list that we created above. As you can see, this one, this nodes, which is a list of nodes. So I'll just write nodes dot clear, and then again I'll call nodes dot add all, and here I'll pass the database dot main.dow dot get all, okay. So that will return all the new nodes and that will add it to the nodes list. And after that we'll call the notify dataset changed for our nodes list adapter. So I'll write nodes list adapter dot notify dataset changed, okay, this one. All right, so now let's test our application to see if we are able to add some nodes or not. Okay, so for this I'll just run this. Here is my phone, it's installing. Alright, so as you can see, our app is now installed, and the main screen is now empty because we don't have any nodes here. So if I click on this floating action button right here, it took me to the new activity where I need to write the title and the notes. So let's write something. For the title I'll write, let's say test title, and for the notes I'll write this is the first note, okay. And then we can click on this save icon to see if it saves or not. So let's click on that. It got crashed, okay. So inside the run, let's see why it got crashed. So it says a nodes list adapter 58 exception resource ID get color, okay, 58. What's inside the 58? So we got an error inside this get color. So the color we are getting here, this color code is from get random color. So if we go to the get random color, random colors, random color, random. Ooh, okay, so here we made a silly mistake. This random color is just a simple number from a simple integer number. That's not a color code, so we can't actually set this to our card background. So for this here, instead of returning random color, we have to write this color code dot get, and here for the position we have to pass this random color integer number. So let random color here, okay. So that was a silly mistake, but okay, happens. So let's run this app again. Okay, so as you can see, now our data has been added. So let's try to add a new data. So for the title I'll pass test, sorry, it got minimized, test 2, and for the notes I'll write this is my note. Okay, and let's click on this save button here, and our data is now saved. Okay, so our note insertion and note reading is done. Now we can try to perform the delete operation and search operation from here, and also we'll work on adding pin and unpinning the items. So let's also do that. Okay, so I'll minimize this, close this, and I'll go to our main activity from here. Let's close all the other ones. So at first let's try to add the option to edit any node that we want. So for this we have to maintain the on click listener of the items. So as you can see inside our adapter, we have managed the holder dot nodes container dot on click listener that's passed inside this listeners on click method. So we got this listener inside our main activity here, this nodes click listener. So we have to work on this on click listener right here. Okay, so here on the on click method I'll create a new intent here. I'll call this intent equals new intent from main activity dot this to the nodes taker activity dot class. Okay, and we'll add some extra values like the selected item. So for this I'll write intent dot put extra, and here we'll whenever the user will click on any item, we'll pass this particular item to the new activity so that the user can edit that item. Okay, so for this we have to pass that item. So how we can do that? We have to pass the name of that data. So I'll call this as old note, old underscore note, and for the data, the selected data is being passed with this on clicks parameter, these nodes. So I'll just simply pass these nodes. Okay, that's it. And then we can also do the start activity for result here. So let's start activity for result, and here I'll pass the intent, and this time the request code will be 102, because if you see above, when we were adding a new data our request code was 101, and this time we are editing a data which is previously added, so that's why we are passing a different request code. Okay, I'm passing 102 here. All right, so we have to now maintain this editing on our nodes taker activity. So here, as we are passing a data with the intent.put extra, we have to grab that inside our nodes taker activity. So I'll do that inside the onCreate method. So here, after this views initialization, I'll go here, and here I'll do one thing. I'll write get intent dot get serializable extra, and here for the string name it was old underscore note. So I'll just copy this and paste it here so that there is no mistake. And let's do one thing. Up here we got these nodes, and we previously initialized that on the save button click. Okay, but in that case we have to initialize it before. So here I'll initialize it for now. We have to maintain something, just keep watching. So here I'll write nodes equal new nodes. Okay, and here I'll pass the nodes equals get intent dot get serializable extra old note, add a semicolon here, and it's still showing error. Maybe it's for the casting issue. Yes, so click on this cast to note app models notes. So it's been casted and now the error is gone. So what's happening here is whenever our notes taker activity is launched, it will search for a get serializable extra for the name old note. So it will find the old note if we are launching the notes taker activity for editing a previously created note, but when we launch it for adding a new note, this won't work and it will crash. So to avoid that, what I'm going to do is I'll add a try block here, and inside this try block I'll just paste it, this notes get intent dot serializable extra, so that won't give us any error. So here I'll also add a catch block with exception e, and I'll write e dot print stack trace. Okay, so now if we go inside this try block, as you can see, we got the notes here. So we can also set the text of the notes to our edit texts. So let's do that. So I'll write edit text title dot set text, and here we'll pass the title text from this notes object. So I'll write notes dot get title. Okay, and similarly I'll do it for the notes. So I'll write edit text notes dot set text, and here I'll pass notes dot notes dot get notes. Okay, so that will set the details of these notes from this. All right, and here we need to do one more thing. We are initializing these nodes twice. Once we are initializing this here, and then we are doing this here also. So to avoid that scenario, we can create a new boolean object. So I'll write boolean is old note equals false. Okay, so what is happening here is, at first we are defining this boolean is old note to false, but when we will get these notes from the intent, that means this is a old note. In that case, we'll make this is old note value true here. So I'll write is old note equal true. All right, so now we'll go down here where we defined or initialized our nodes again. So here, before that, we'll check if is old note is false, add a false sign here before, and if is old note is false, that means it's a new note. In that case, we'll initialize it here. Okay, so that's a simple logic. All right, so okay, our task for the nodes taker activity.java is now done. Let's go to main activity.java here, and here we have to capture the data also. So for this, again I'll go inside this on activity result, and this time we'll check for the request code 102, right? Okay, so let's do one thing. I'll check else if request code equal 102, and if result code equal activity dot result. Okay, and here similarly we'll create a note object, notes new underscore notes equals data dot get serializable extra, and here the data name was, as you can see, the data name was note. So I'll copy this and paste it here. Okay, it's showing an error because I need to cast this. Okay, it's been casted. Okay, and now we have to update this particular node. So for this I'll write database dot main.update, and here for the parameter of update we have to pass the ID, the title, and the nodes. Okay, so for the ID, what I'm going to do is I'll get this new nodes dot get ID, and then for the title again new nodes dot get title, and for the nodes new nodes dot get nodes. Okay, that's it. And now similarly I'll clear the nodes, so nodes dot clear, and then nodes dot add all, and here I'll pass the database dot main.dow dot get all. Okay, and again I'll call our nodes list adapter dot notify dataset changed. Okay, so that will do the job for editing a node. So now let's run our application and see how it goes. Okay, so our app is launched, and let's add another node here to see. So I'll write test 3. I'll write something as my name is Ivan. Okay, and let's save it. So our node is now saved. Okay, this one, test 3, my name is Ivan. Okay, and now let's try to edit this. So to edit that we have to click on this. So I have click on this, and as you can see we got the title and the nodes that we typed earlier on this node. If we go to another one, let's go to this one, we got the details. Okay, so now let's try to update this one, and this test 3, my name is Ivan, and here I'll update this with and I am a programmer. Okay, now let's try to save this. So I'll click on this save icon. As you can see, our data has been updated. My name is Ivan and I am a programmer. Nice. So our update option is also working. So now let's work on the search view. Okay, so for this at first we have to go to our main activities XML file, activity underscore main.xml, and here at first above this Recyclerview we'll add a search view. So I'll add a search view, this Android X search view. I'll set its width to match parent and height to the same size of a action bar. So question mark attr slash action bar size. All right, and as it is a relative layout we have to adjust the alignments. So before that I'll give its ID. So I'll call this as search view underscore home. Then I'll align this to align parent top to true. Okay, that's it. And for the Recyclerview I'll set this to below the search view. So copy the search view's ID and paste it here. Okay, so it's now aligned under this search view. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's give the search view a margin of, let's say, 16 dp, and let's give its background to color gray. All right, it looks good now. And let's give this a query hint to search notes dot, but the query is not showing here because we have to edit another attribute, which is it was iconified by default. We have to make this false. Okay, so here we got the query search notes. All right, so our UI part is now done. Now let's copy this ID of the search view. search view underscore home. I'll copy this and go to our main activity.java here, and here above we'll initialize our search view. So I'll write search view, I'll paste the ID here, and I'll initialize this under here. So I'll write search view underscore home equals find view by ID r.id.search view underscore home. All right, so now our search view has been initialized, so we can now write some method here to perform the queries. So here I'll write our search view underscore home dot set on query text listener. I'll create a new view, search view dot on query text listener. All right, so here we got two methods, the on query text submit and on query text change. So we want to work on the on query text submit. We'll try to match the data every time the user types a new single word, new single alphabet inside the search view. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So for this, at first we'll go inside this on query text change, and here I'll call a new method filter, where I'll pass this new text that is typed on the search view. So I'll pass the new text here, new text. All right, and then we have to return true instead of returning false. So make sure you change that to true, and the filter is showing an error because we haven't created that method. So I'll just click on this red bulb and click on this create method filter, and I'll click on this main activity here, so it will be created separately here. So now we have to work on this method filter. We have to link this to our notes list adapter. Okay, so inside here, at first I'll create a new list. So I'll create a list of notes. I'll call this the filtered list equals new array list here, and then we'll check for all the nodes inside the list nodes or inside the list that we created previously, this one, the globally assigned nodes. So we'll check for nodes. I'll call this as single node in nodes. So I'll check for all the single nodes inside the globally assigned nodes, and I'll match the all the description of each of the nodes with the string typed inside the search view. So for this I'll write if single node dot get title dot two lowercase. I'm using two lowercase to avoid any case sensitive issues. So two lowercase dot contains, and here inside the parameter of contains we'll pass the new text, and I'll also add a dot two lowercase to here, two lowercase, this one. Okay, we want to use this local root, only the two lowercase. Okay, so single node get title two lowercase or contains. Okay, fine. And also I'll go to the new line and I'll add a or operator here, and here I'll check again for single node dot, this time we'll check for the nodes. So get nodes dot two lowercase dot contains. I'll pass the new text dot two lowercase. Okay, so if it is, then what we will do, so now if the new text that the user typed on the search view matches with any one of the title or the words inside the nodes, then we'll add that single node to the filtered list. So I'll just do filtered list dot add, and I'll pass the single node here, this one. the single note. Okay, so after a full iteration we will get all the nodes that contains the string that is typed inside the search view, and those nodes are stored inside this filtered list. So now we can pass this filtered list to our Recyclerview's adapter to show that inside our Recyclerview. So for this we have to create a new method inside our node list adapter here. So if I zoom in, and here we'll do one thing, I'll just go after any of the method, like let's go after this get item count here, and here I'll create a new method. I'll call this as public void filter list, and here for the parameter I'll take a new filtered list. So I'll write list of nodes, and I'll name it as filtered list. Okay, we have to define the method body here. So I have created a new method called filtered list, where for the parameter I'm taking a list of nodes, and here what I'm going to do is I'll just replace the globally assigned list that we defined here with the list that we are getting from the parameter. So I'll write list equals filtered list. Okay, so that will now swap the filtered list with the global list, and then we'll call the notify dataset changed. Okay, so now let's go back to our main activity here, and here after the for loop we'll just call the nodes list adapter dot filter list, and here we'll pass this filtered list that we got. So I'll write filtered list. Alright, so I guess that should work now. Now let's try to run our application again and see the changes. So our app has been installed, and here we got our search view. So let's try to search something. So here in all of these three items, inside this one we have my name. So let's try to write my name, EVAN. As you can see, it's showing only this one. So let's try another one. Let's try with this. Okay, so only these two contains this. Okay, so I'll write THIS. Alright, so as you can see, our search option is also working fine. That's nice. So now let's do one thing. Let's work on pinning, unpinning, and deleting any item. Okay, that's the only method left. So I'll do that. So for this we have to work on the on long click method right here. Okay, so let's do that. So here for performing this we need to create another node object. So let's globally design that. I'll go here and create a new single nodes object. I'll call this as selected node. Alright, and then we have to go inside this on long click method of this nodes click listener, and here I'll initialize the selected node equals new nodes. Okay, and then I'll pass this nodes that we got from the parameter to the selected node globally. So let's selected node equal nodes that we got from the parameter. Okay, and then we can show a message or show a pop-up dialog. So I'll write show pop-up. Okay, and here for the parameter I'll just pass the view where that we want to show the message. Okay, so here I'm going to pass this card view, so in red card view. Okay, and it's showing an error because we haven't created this method. So I'll just click on this red bulb and click on create method show pop-up. Click on this main activity. Here we got this method show pop-up, and here we will create our pop-up menu. Okay, so let's create some menu items. So for this, if you have any menu item in your res folder, you can okay with that. But if you don't have any menu option like me, then you have to create one. Okay, for this you have to right click on the res folder, create a new Android resource directory, and from here the resource type I'll change this to menu and click on OK. And here we got the menu folder. So I'll right click on the menu folder, create a new menu resource file, and the file name I'll make this as pop-up underscore menu. Okay, and we'll click on OK. Go to this split view, and here inside the menu I'll create a new single item. I'll pass its ID as let's say pin. I'll give this also a title. I'll name this as pin/unpin. Okay, and similarly I'll create another one. I'll just copy this and paste it here, and this time I'll change its ID to delete, and also the text I'll change this to delete. Okay, so these are the two menus that we want to create. So our pop-up menu XML is now done. We can close this, and now inside this main activity, inside this show pop-up method that we created, I'll create a new object of pop-up menu. Pop-up menu, I'll call this as pop-up menu equals new pop-up menu, and here in the parameter we have to pass the context and then the view that we where we want to show the menu. So I'll pass this card view here. So after this I'll pass the card view. All right, and then I'll write the pop-up menu, this one, the pop-up menu dot set on menu item click listener, and here let's pass this. It will show an error because we haven't implemented the method. We'll do that later after some time. And here I'll write pop-up menu dot inflate. Let's inflate the menu that we created right now, the pop-up menu XML. So here I'll write pop-up menu dot inflate, and here I'll pass the menu ID r dot menu dot pop-up menu that we created. Okay, and finally we can show the menu by writing pop-up menu dot show. Okay, so now it's showing an error. That's because we have to implement the on click listener for the on menu item click listener. Okay, so I just go above here. So here public class main activity extends app compat activity. Here I'll make this implements pop-up menu dot on menu item click listener. Okay, hit enter. Implements pop-up menu dot on menu item click listener. That will show an error because we have to implement the methods. So I'll click on implement method, click on the first one, click on OK. So here we got the on menu item click method, and as you can see our error is now gone inside this line. So here we will mainly work with the item IDs. So as we got the menu item with the parameter, we'll go inside this method and I'll write a new switch case. So I'll write switch for item dot get item ID, and inside the body at first I'll check for the menu ID r dot id dot pin. Okay, as you can see inside the pop-up menu we had this id pin and delete. So at first I'm checking for the id pin. So if the item ID that clicked is pin, in that case we'll check one thing, that if the selected node dot is pinned. So if it is already pinned, then we just need to unpin this, and if it is not pinned, then we have to just pin this. Okay, so it's very simple. So we'll just go to the if conditions body, and if it is pinned here, then for this we have to perform a query, and we don't have that query inside our data access object, so we have to just add that. So I'll go inside the database inside our main DAO, and here we need to add the query. So here after this delete, I'll create another method which is void pin, and here the parameter of this pin will be the int id and a boolean value which is pin. Okay, and it's also should be a query, so I'll add an annotation of query. So here we need to write the query, so I'll just quickly add that. Inside the quotation I'll write update, the table name is notes, and here we need to set the value called pinned, and I'll set this to the boolean value that's passed here inside the parameter. So I have to write colon pin. Okay, and where we need to change this, we'll match this with the id. So I'll write where id equals colon id that passed here. Alright, so that's the query. So now we can go to our main activity, and inside here for the selected node dot is pinned, I'll call the the database dot main DAO dot pin, and here we need to pass the id. So for this I'll write selected node dot get id, and the second parameter is, as in this condition it is pinned, so we have to pass false. Okay, and I'll show a toast message here which will be for the main activity dot this, and the message will be unpinned. Okay, and similarly I'll write a else condition where I'll call database dot main DAO dot pin selected item dot get id, and here for the second parameter I'll pass true, and then I'll show a toast message on the main activity dot this and the message will be pinned. Okay, so now we have to go outside of this if else block, and here we need to clear the nodes. So I'll write nodes dot clear, and then I'll write nodes dot add all, and I'll call the database dot main DAO dot get all. All right, and finally we'll call the notify dataset change of our nodes list adapter. So I'll write nodes list adapter dot notify dataset changed. Okay, and finally here we'll return true. Don't forget to add this return true, otherwise you will get errors. Okay, so now before working on our delete option, let's try this pin or unpin method. So I'll just run this application from here. As you can see, your app is now installed, and if I try to pin any of the items, let's click on this one, the test2. Let's click and hold on this. So the menu has been popped up, pin or unpin, delete. So let's click on this pin or unpin, and as you can see, a pin icon is added to this item. Let's try to pin this one also. It's also pinned. And if we want to unpin anything, like let's try to unpin this one, click on pin and pin again, the pin is now removed. Okay, so our pin unpin option is also working fine. Now let's try to work on the delete option. So for this I'll go outside of this case. So I'll write another case which is r.id.delete. Okay, so inside this case we will write our coding for deleting an item from the database. That's actually quite simple. For this we have to just write database.main.delete, and here for the parameter we just have to pass the selected node. So I'll write selected node, that's it. And then we can also remove the node from the list. So I'll write nodes dot remove, and here we'll pass the selected node. All right, and then we call the notify dataset changed of our adapter. So I'll write nodes list adapter dot notify dataset changed. Okay, and also we'll show a toast message on the main activity dot this, and the message will be item, sorry, let's write note deleted. Okay, we just have to add the return true here also. So I'll write return true. Okay, so here outside of this switch case we have this return false. We won't return this return false here. We'll just remove this from here, and we'll create a new default case here, default, and here we'll return false. All right. Okay, so now let's run our application for the final time to see the changes of the delete option. So I'll run this. As you can see, our app is now installed. These are the three menus. So let's try to delete this one. So long click on this and click on delete. As you can see, the item is now deleted. Let's unpin this one. It's got unpinned. Let's delete this one. It got deleted. Okay, so that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you want me to add more options and features to this notepad app, you can comment down below. I'll definitely try to add them and create a new video on that. And thank you so much for watching.